What happened in Game 3 last year? I'm going to remind you. Again, Kevin Love didn't even play because he was out with a concussion. LeBron won that game. The Cavs won that game 120-90 by 30 points last year because LeBron took over the game with 32, 11, and 6, and Kyrie showed up in ways he didn't show up in Golden State because he had 30 in that game, 4 and 8. No Kevin Love. JR showed up. I'm not sure he's going to be found by tomorrow night, but he made 5 threes, 5 out of 10 last year in Game 3. So do I think Cleveland's a good basketball? Yeah, I think they're a really good basketball team. Do I think they're capable of beating the Kevin Durant Golden State Warriors? You better believe I do. Do I think this series is over? I do not. So I'm saying the King will win Game 3 just as he did a year ago. But again, if he doesn't, the legacy is starting to teeter. If they get blown out at home, it won't look good for LeBron James.
Okay, I'm going to try to dissect what you just said. Take it one at a time. You said if he doesn't win this game, his legacy is forever tarnished.
It'll be a blight on his resume, yeah.
Although, now we're going to discuss this later, they're discussing whether or not this or the 96 Bulls are the greatest team ever assembled in finals history. And that's what LeBron's up against. And you said if he loses this game...
Do you think this is the greatest team in finals history?
We're going to debate that later.
Okay.
I'm talking about your points right here, right now. You see what you're trying to do?
Don't. Okay. I don't. Okay. I'm not sure this team is better than last year's Golden State team. I'm just not. I want to see them under fire. I want to see them pushed in a fourth quarter down the stretch, and let's see if they come up big again.
So let me get this right. You don't think they're better than last year, although they have the 3. Now they add Kevin Durant, not Harrison Barnes.
What do we say all year? How many times did I say during the year? I'm not being a hypocrite. I told you again and again, they looked better to my eye this regular season without Kevin Durant than with him. I'm sorry.
What about in the playoffs?
Okay, when have they been pushed in the playoffs? They've won every game. They've just blown people out. They got injury breaks every round. They didn't have to play Kawhi Leonard. What happened? Yeah, this all-time great team. Was it down 23 points to my San Antonio Spurs midway through the third quarter of Game 1 in Oakland? What happened? Kawhi got hurt. He got cheap-shotted by Zaza Pachulia. You know? Well, that's who he is. I'm sorry.
Skip. So let me get this right. Harrison Barnes scored 65 points in 7 games. Kevin Durant has 71 in 2 games, but somehow you think they're a better team last year than this year.
I just saw it in the regular season.
You said LeBron disappeared in the second half. He had 11 points, 4 assists, 5 rebounds. He only took 6 shots.
Why is that?
Because
he's better than that.
Because he realizes in order for him to win this series and to start by winning a game, he needs Kyrie to become involved earlier. Kyrie, if you look at the stat sheet, you're like, well, Kyrie had 19. But you look at it, he took 23 shots to get them. He got, 10, 11 of those in the fourth quarter when the game was out of reach. He understands in order for him to take down this big 3, or the Fantastic Four, as I dubbed them earlier this year, Skip, he needs a combined effort from Kevin Love and Kyrie. LeBron's going to get his. He's averaging, think about this, Skip, he's averaging a triple-double, 28.5, 13 and 11, and they're losing by an average of 20 points a game. So I don't really know what else you want him to do.
Okay, you know what I want him to do? What he did in the first 3 games of the 2015 finals when he had lost Kevin Love and then lost Kyrie in overtime of Game 1. What did he do? He was taking high numbers. He took 38 shots, 35 shots. But come on.
That was without Kyrie and Kevin Love.
I get it, but it worked because they were up 2-1 with Game 4 right here in his house.
So who was going to get Kyrie's shot? Dellavedova? Who was going to get Kevin Love?
By the way, they miss Dellavedova. They do.
Who was going to take Kevin Love's shot? Mozgov? Now you have 3 all-star players, Skip. LeBron is a very unselfish player. He had to go
to a fault. He is.
That
should have been his night in his game.
For me, this game, lose Game 3, it does nothing to his legacy because he's a Mount Rushmore player. Now, this probably removes the conversation, him and the GOAT. That probably is off the table if he were to lose this game.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, no, that's a huge admission. That's a confession on your part.
It's not a confession. I'm honest. You dishonest when it comes to LeBron. Skip, he's playing 3, the last 3 MVPs, 2013, 13, 14, and 15. They're in their prime. We've never seen anything like this. They're the only team that can take 2 players off the court, and they still have 2 All-NBA players, 2 Two, Skip. Where did four? They have 4 All-Star players.
Okay, is Steph Curry on Mount Rushmore?
No.
No. Is Kevin Durant on Mount Rushmore? No. Is Klay Thompson on Mount Rushmore? No. Is Draymond on Mount Rushmore? I'm sorry, he's not.
Skip.
But one guy is. The king is.
So what one guy you know beat 4 Mount Rushmore players? Did Jordan ever do that?
Yeah. Yeah, he beat teams that were better than these teams. We'll talk about that later. He did. He did.
I'm trying to.
I'll show you. I'll show you Magic's Lakers. I'll show you Karl Malone's Jazz. They were better than this Golden State team. They had proven more.
Magic Lakers were old. Magic was old. James Worthy didn't even finish the series. They were not stacked like this. We're not talking about the early 80s from 86 back Showtime Lakers. You're talking about 91. Because you remember, Jordan didn't make any finals in the 80s when you say the league was all stacked. The Pistons, the Sixers, and the Celtics, they represented the East. Now, did Michael Jordan come into the league in 1994 or 1984?
84.
Oh, so he couldn't make it out the East.
Well, he was a baby up against teams stacked with Mount Rushmore.
You know what?
Those are Mount Rushmore players.
Larry Bird and the Bad Boy Pistons gave him a ball and say, sit your butt in the corner until you get ready.
Wait, when he scored 63 on the Celtics and they said, we just faced Jesus in sneakers.
Tell them what happened. Who won that game? Now, you can't leave out that part. Who won the game, Skip?
Yeah.
Skip.
A team that had 4 Hall of Famers.
Oh, no.
4 Hall of Famers.
Skip, let me ask you a question. There was a guy named Jerry West. He lost 7 straight finals. He was 1-8 in the finals. Those 7 straight losses in the finals tarnished his legacy so much, they gave him the logo. So you mean to tell me
but he got the logo before the NBA was even the NBA. You know it, and I know it. And he doesn't deserve to keep the logo.
Stop being disrespectful to that man.
I'm just being honest about the man.
All I'm saying is LeBron is a 4-time league MVP.
Wait a second.
Yes.
Well, what has Steph Curry ever proven in the postseason? Show me.
Skip.
Show me what he's done in the last 2 finals. Help me out.
Okay.
Did he live up to his MVPs? Show me what Kevin Durant has really proven in the postseason. Did he come up big against LeBron in the 2012 finals against the Miami Heat?
I'm going to use your argument against you. Like you said, Michael Jordan, he was a baby.
Okay, Kevin was a baby against LeBron in 2012. I will give you that. But Steph was not a baby 2 years ago or last year. And he wasn't even the MVP of a finals in which he got to play against a Cavs team that did not have Kevin Love or Kyrie Irving. And he wasn't even the MVP of that. And how about last year in Game 7, back in Oakland,
yes.
4th quarter, what did Steph Curry do in that game?
He didn't do it.
He was 1 for 6, 1 for 5 from 3 with a huge turnover with 5 minutes left in the game. He came up smaller than he even is.
But you can't deny Steph Curry is a 2-time league MVP and the only man to win that award unanimous. Kevin Durant is an MVP. You can't take that off his resume.
Okay, but do you know how many times Kevin came up small in playoffs for the Oklahoma City Thunder? Do you realize my Spurs in 2014 went into his house and beat him and Russell Westbrook in the pivotal game of that series to get to the 2014 finals against your Heat again?
Skip, but here's the thing. They still have these collection of talent. No team has ever assembled this kind of firepower in their prime.
Okay, I got that, and I give you that. But now you have to prove that the firepower will work on the biggest stage. So far, so good.
Right.
So far, so great in Oakland. Those were in Oakland.
But if that's the case, if they've proved nothing in the playoffs, and we're going to debate this, I can't understand. These guys have proved nothing in the playoffs, yet they would be favored of what many think is the greatest team ever assembled, the 96 Bulls. I can't understand why. Now, you say Vegas, they know things. Now, they keep building.
They don't know this thing, because that's the biggest bunch of baloney I've ever heard.
Well, I just want to.
We'll talk about it later.
How do they keep building these buildings that cost $2 billion and they losing money? They're not. They know what they're talking about. So, Skip, this game would do nothing for LeBron's legacy. It would only enhance it. It would only get him closer to the GOAT.
Okay, but you did admit that if he loses it, it's game over with the GOAT, right?
If he loses this series, I'm not a game by game. I look at the totality of all the parts. If he loses this series, the conversation of him being the GOAT is probably off the table, unless he can come back and beat this team twice the way it's constructed now. because I believe these teams are going to play for the very foreseeable future in the finals.
You could make a case. You
They
could
have
be
the
right.
Golden State has clearly the best talent in the West. Cleveland has the best talent in the East. So I don't believe this game is going to tarnish LeBron's. This game would tarnish his legacy. The only thing, he loses this series, the Jordan GOAT is probably off the table, Skip, unless he does something spectacular. Comes back, wins a couple of regular season MVPs, and can take this team down. If he can take this team down, we're going to have this conversation again because, Skip, there's a possibility they could be undefeated in the playoffs. No team has ever done that. So to beat a team that once went undefeated in the playoffs, the way they're constructed, obviously that would give him some merit.